Hi, welcome to the Little Reeser House where we celebrate, create, and enjoy life in the little things. Today, I am so excited to share this video with you because this is a project I have been crafting up in my mind for the past 6 months. Chances are, if you're on Instagram or Pinterest, you have probably seen tons of these projects floating around to make over an IKEA play kitchen for your children. These kitchens range in the most adorable types of styles. It is endless, the possibilities, and so I knew this was something I really wanted to do for my daughter. She is just hitting that age where she is going to love it. So today I'm going to share with you exactly what I did so you can create something similar if you feel inclined. Now let's get right into it. First things first, the kitchen itself. Most of the IKEA Play Kitchen makeovers I have seen use a Duktig play kitchen, featuring extra storage space, a microwave oven, and a light-up stovetop. However, when I was browsing the selection, I came across a less familiar Spisig kitchen. The Spisig is $40 less expensive, but what really drew me to it was the fact that it could be turned around and used like a storefront. For some reason, it spoke to me and I decided to go this route instead. I started by pulling out all of the pieces from the box, with the help of my cats, of course, and tried to make sense of the pieces. I decided to paint them before assembling, so I laid them out in a large area and opted to give them a coat of primer as a base before painting with the color. I wanted to pick up a set of decorative knobs to use as the oven knobs, so I had to fill the existing pre-drilled holes with spackle and drill new single holes for my chosen knob hardware. Once that dried, I went in with a basic primer and gave everything a nice even coat. I know this will get a lot of wear, so I wanted to be sure to have as much grip for my paint as possible. Let's just talk about the design for a minute because it was hard for me to nail down what I wanted to do. By this point, I had started collecting a few things for the kitchen, so I wanted to choose a color that worked well with what I was collecting and what I was planning to add to it. I pulled together a little mood board to help me visualize, which is such a helpful tip for any design project when you have trouble making decisions. Sometimes you just need to see it together to help you make your choices. I decided to render the kitchen as an illustration so I could really see a visual. I tried it in a safe choice, a creamy white, a fun choice, an earthy pink, and a bold choice, an olive green. If I hadn't have done this, I probably would have went for creamy white because it was safe and pretty much guaranteed to work out. However, since I was able to visualize, I could weigh my options and ultimately decided on olive green. Natural, earthy, but still bold and fun. I wanted this little space to be exciting, but not overly childish, and this felt like a good fit. I went in and painted all the pieces with House and Canvas chalk paint in the beautiful green tone called Underground. House and Canvas is a proud Canadian company, and I was excited to try out their product on this project. I gave everything 2 coats of paint with drying time in between and had to go in and flip it all and repeat the process so every angle was covered. While that dried, I went ahead and started painting the small mural on the back piece of the kitchen base unit. I used some Fusion Minerals raw silk paint that I had on hand as the base color, and then used painter's tape to tape off some ray shapes. A hot tip for using painter's tape is to first paint the edges with your base color, and then go over the taped area with your color of choice, and you will have a perfect bleed-proof line when you peel back the tape. To create the colors for my design, I simply used some craft paint and a little good old color theory. To finish off the paint job, I applied a coat of triple thick Varathane in a satin finish to give it a little extra protection from the wear and tear of a 2-year-old. Next up was the countertop. I opted to recreate the countertop using a piece of pine project board so I could stain it. I'll admit that this approach took some precision, skill, and more specialized tools, but thankfully my dad is really precise and talented with woodworking, so I called in some reinforcement to help me get it right. Basically, we used the countertop that came with the kit as a template. And so there were a couple of screws that we needed to pre-drill for, as well as the sink. So we had to use a jigsaw to cut this out. And this is where the faucet goes in. The back, which required cutting out this notch for the back of the base unit. The other thing we had to do is put in these pieces. There are some screws in the side of the base that adhere the countertop to it, and so we had to make sure we had those pieces. We just popped them off the original countertop and made sure we put them in the exact proper placement. To stain the countertop, I used the Varathane brand stain called Flagstone, which you may remember from my toddler table makeover video. I'll link that up in the cards. I applied one coat to the top and the bottom and wiped it off promptly after applying. The next day, I added a coat of the same Varathane top coat in a satin finish that I used earlier in the video. For the sink and faucet, I decided to simply use some spray paint to give them a fresh and stylish look. I had some trouble with my first attempt when the paint pooled in the bottom of the sink, causing it to bubble up and chip off. I scratched off any of the loose paint that I could, and I scuffed up the sink with a little bit of fine sandpaper and then tried again using multiple very thin coats of spray paint, and it adhered perfectly. Throughout the process of making over the actual kitchen unit, I spent a lot of time planning and collecting the contents. I knew that obviously I would need to get some play food, but I also wanted to purchase a kitchen accessory like a play toaster, coffee maker, or mixer. Other than that, I kept my eye open at the thrift store, online, and our local Winners Home Sense store for anything that could work. It became a nice little weekly tradition to hit the thrift store on my own and browse around for hidden treasures. I got today at the thrift store the green sticker items were 75% off. So these little egg cups were $1 with 75% off. So they were 25 cents each. I got her some wooden eggs for her kitchen. So I thought these would be really cute. I loved egg cups when I was a kid. And then this guy, same thing. It was $2 green sticker, so it cost me 50 cents. And what I really was looking for was a bit of like a crock style type thing that I could put like her cooking utensils in. And so this, I'm not really sure how those are actually connected or whether they go together. But so what I'm gonna do is same thing. Give this piece a little bit of a DIY. I decided to paint a couple of my finds to align them more with the style I was going for with the kitchen. You have likely seen this technique used many times here on YouTube, but if you're new to it, I simply mixed some baking soda with some spare paint I had on hand to create a thick, stone-like textured paint. I applied 2 coats of this to the pieces with drying time in between. To give them a little extra character, I did 2 different things. First, I went in with some water and ground cinnamon and used a paper towel to add a bit of faux wear. This technique was really subtle, but at the very least, it smelled amazing. Next, I watered down some standard craft paint and used a paintbrush and my finger to speckle the paint onto the pieces. This gave them a speckled pottery look. Never underestimate what a little bit of paint can achieve. I opted to purchase the play food, fruits, and vegetables from IKEA for the kitchen, but I wanted to add some pantry type food items to play with as well. Here in Canada, it was hard to find some cute wooden options that didn't have astronomical shipping prices, so after many evenings of searching, I decided to just go ahead and make my own. My dad gave me a bag of leftover wood scraps from a project, so I went through and picked out a few pieces that could work. A few pieces had little built-in caps on them, which worked perfectly as bottles. Other pieces were chunky and perfect for boxes. So I just cut down the pieces I wanted to use into consistent sizes and gave them a really quick sand to smooth out any rough edges. Next, I planned out how I wanted to paint them and went in with some basic craft paint to give them some color. As a graphic designer, I had a lot of fun playing around with designing these products, even spending an evening creating a series of corresponding product labels to have printed so I could apply them to the wood blocks. This may seem like a painstaking process, but I can honestly say that I only ever go to this much trouble because it truly is enjoyable for me to do so. I used a local printer to print the labels, but you could easily print them at home too if that's easier for you. I cut each label out one by one and used some Mod Podge to adhere them to the wood blocks. Once they dried in place, I applied a clear coat of spray paint to all sides of the food pieces to create a consistent protective finish. And with that, the pantry was ready to be stocked. Oh baby, it was time to pull it all together. I was gifting this kitchen to my daughter as her Christmas gift, so I decided I would set it all up one afternoon for a test run before I scrambled to get it set up on Christmas Eve. I started by finishing the assembly of the actual kitchen. I had already assembled the base unit and the top piece separately, but I was waiting on the countertop to connect it all together. I was then able to add in the sink and the faucet pieces. You won't see this on camera, but once the kitchen was fully assembled, I went in and did any paint and urethane touch-ups I needed to do, including painting over the screw heads. Also, it's worth noting that once it was touched up, I stored it untouched in my basement for a couple of weeks, and the paint totally cured and adhered to the piece. Next, I laid out all the items I had been collecting and DIYing. Seeing this finished collection together was so satisfying because it truly was a process of gathering a little piece here and a little piece there. I was so excited to see my vision coming to life, and as I mentioned, I thrifted many of these items, but I'll link any of the accessories I didn't thrift in the description below. As for the small appliance purchase, I opted for this adorable wooden coffee maker. It came with 2 mugs, a carton of milk, a sugar dish, and a couple of spoons. And being on the other side of this gift, I can tell you that it is by far the item my daughter plays with the most in the kitchen, so I'll also link that below. I purchased the play food from IKEA and a set of wooden eggs from a small business based here in Ontario. To store the food, I purchased a second of a woven basket that I already owned and distributed the food between them. These baskets fit perfectly on the bottom shelf of the little kitchen. And the little egg cups that I DIY'd were perfect for displaying a couple of the adorable wooden eggs. I decided to add a couple of wooden drawer knobs to the side of the base unit to act as hooks. The install took a little bit of troubleshooting, but I ended up adding a nut to the inside of the unit since the screws on the knobs were pretty long. This seemed to work perfectly, and it was the perfect spot to hang the adorable printed hot pads I found at the dollar store. For the rest of the styling, I just placed things where they felt best and easiest for little hands to reach.
Look at the little kitchen.
Good, yeah, get that up there. You can put some food in there. Good job, Mapes. Was this IKEA Play Kitchen Makeover project a little bit excessive? To some, maybe, but as much as it was a gift for my daughter, it was such a gift for me too. In a year that has been hard and challenging and different, this last little project of the year was such a bright spot for me. To plan for something, to be creative, to use my hands to create something, it just brought me a lot of joy. And to see the way that she plays with it every single day since the moment we gifted it to her, absolutely worth it. Well, what do you think? I had so much fun working on this project, and I just want to thank you for sticking it out and watching this video with me. It means so much to me. If you liked this video, make sure you like it down below and leave in the comments, first of all, if you would ever tackle a project like this, and second of all, if you did, what flair and unique style would you bring to it? You're welcome to follow along with me on Instagram. Everything will be linked down below in the description box. I want to wish you and your family a very happy holidays and a happy new year. And just remember that joy is often found in the little things, like planning, creating, and executing a really tiny kitchen makeover. Bye, friends.